in the distillery. I am Sabrina. I'm one of the distillery operators, and this is Josh. He's also a distillery operator. So if you have any questions during or after the tour, you can certainly ask Josh. He knows all about this place as well. Hold off on questions till we finish the upstairs and downstairs, just because I might answer it hopefully in my talk. So as you've heard through the tour, I'm sure today, we harvest both Melissa and lavender on this farm. And you saw the harvester in the field with Kevin. After the harvest truck gets full, it comes down to this deck. We call this the deck. This is all power washed and cleaned before harvest. And that material is offloaded onto the deck and spread out about 18 inches deep. So it's covering this entire cement area. I think Kevin probably talked to you about the bricks, the sugar level in the plant, and that's when we harvest. We also check the bricks on the deck. I'll check it when they unload it out of the truck, and I'll check it again before we load the pots. There's an ideal number, depending on the plant, when we load. And the bricks is basically talking about how much the plant is stressing, and when a plant stresses, it's going to release more oil. So if the bricks is really low, it's not stressed, and it's not going to release a lot of oil. So we want it to get a little bit of that stress to kind of try to survive, basically. So it's releasing the oil to survive. Once we load the pots, we use a skid steer with a grapple on it to load. And then if you picture grape stomping, we actually get in the pot and jump up and down and stomp inside the pot. And if you've ever had the luxury of being here for a harvest and been able to do that, it's the highlight usually of a harvest. If you can ever participate, is getting in that pot and stomping Melissa. There's just nothing like it, because the smell, and when it comes, it's just incredible. We pack that tight all the way to the top. And packing it as tight as possible is very important, because the steam's going to come from underneath. And if it's not tight, that steam will go through air holes or up the side if it's not packed tight on the side, and just go back out the top. And then we're going to lose the oil, because we want all that steam to push through the plant to create the oil. So it's packed tight and crowned. We even fill it beyond the rim of that pot. These pots are 9,600 liters. They're fairly big, and you'll see the actual size once you peek down inside or when we walk around the basement. Once that's loaded, we put the lid on with the swan neck on top that you see here at the bottom of this hoist. That gets latched on and connected to the hose coming out the window there that goes to the cold water condenser. Once that's all latched on, either Josh or I will be in the basement and we'll start the steam. We'll talk more about that when we get down there. When the cook is finished, we take the lid off again. And there's chains down in that pot that you'll see. Those chains get attached to this crane, and the whole batch of Melissa is lifted out and taken out that door. That can weigh up to 4 tons. It's like a big cake going out, and it's steaming hot, and pretty incredible thing to see. So it goes out the door and into a dump truck, and that dump truck is taken up, you'll see up behind the semi, a big pile. And that is the cooked product that will then be used as compost. So we have the compost pile up top, and it takes a couple years to compost, but I'm sure Kevin talked to you about the problem we have with weeds on the farm. The weather in northern Idaho, we get rain maybe once a week, which is great for plants, for Melissa. It's also great for weeds. So we have our 8 Hispanic gentlemen that come up from Mexico every year, and they spend 6 days a week, 12 hours a day weeding. I mean, it's a big job. So if we can eliminate that somehow, some way, that's what we're trying to do. So we've done a field with compost. We put that compost between the rows, and we've done it fairly thick, and it's been working. It is keeping the weeds down. We've had to adjust the fertilizer program a little bit, because that much compost does deplete the nitrogen in the soil, and the plants do need that nitrogen. So we've had to adjust things a little bit, but in general, I think that is going to be a good way to go. Using that, the recycled material is the greatest way to go. Put that on the ground and keep the weeds to a minimum. That's what we're hoping for. So that gets composted up there and then put back in the field. So what we can do, if you don't have any questions up top here, we're going to go around the building back down to the basement. While you're going around, you might want to look into the boiler room. That is a propane-fired boiler. It used to be diesel. We just switched to propane this year, which has been really great because it is more efficient for one, so it saves quite a bit of fuel. And the emissions are much lower, so it's better for the environment. So you can look in and see the boiler, and then I'll meet you back downstairs and we'll talk about the rest of the process, unless there are any other questions up here on this part. Nope? Okay, good. Very tender. If you saw the plants, they're like a mint, and so they have to be handled carefully. Once we pack that cooker and open the steam, we just crack it open. If we were to ramp it open really quickly, it would burn the plant and it would spoil the whole batch. If we did it too slowly, then the oil would release, there wouldn't be enough pressure in the pot, and the oil would run out the drain down into the pot, which would be bad too. So both Josh and I work with Gary, and it's really one of those things you just have to keep doing it to learn how it works. It's a lot with temperature and pressure, but it's a lot about, you can actually feel the steam when you have your hand on this valve. You can feel the steam passing through the pipe. You can hear it, and even though it's really loud in here, we still know what to listen for. Lavender and balsam and the other products are much tougher. Melissa's tricky because it's very tender, and as Gary says, she's kind of picky like that. You have to take good care of her. So once that steam starts and travels up through the pot, we ramp it very slowly at certain intervals that we've been taught, and it stresses the plant, so then it releases the oil. That becomes a vapor up to the top. The vapor goes through the swan neck and through that braided hose into these cold water condensers. The water for these condensers comes from the pond, and I think Kevin probably told you that's also our irrigation water. So it's a bit of a balance. We can't run out of water using it all in irrigation because then we won't have any left for the distillery. So we have to be careful. So that cold water comes through this big pipe overhead, goes through these condensers. It's an isolated system. It does not mix with the Melissa and the water. It just surrounds it and cools it. So that vapor being cooled then becomes a liquid. And that liquid will travel down the pipes, but you can see on 2 and 3 there's a plexiglass cover that you can see how that comes out. When it passes from the cooker to the condenser, that's called passover. We say passover happens usually within 30 minutes for Melissa. So it's pretty quickly considering that volume of plant. So then that liquid that's both the Melissa and the water comes down through that funnel. We're watching temperatures there, and that's the temperature of the condenser. So we're managing that temperature as well with these yellow handles. Then the water in the Melissa rises up, and you can see in this pot, we left some in here for you to see. The Melissa floats to the top, the oil. Once the cook is complete, then we raise this water level up above. This is a funnel inside the glass. And then we siphon that oil out this valve into a stainless steel pot. We'll still get some water in there, but we try to get mostly just the oil off the top. And then the water that's in these separators goes down into the basement into storage tanks. That water is then used for the hot tubs. If you've ever been here for a harvest, after your days of hard work, because it's hard work if you go to harvest, you get to come down here and soak. It's really a nice experience. There's also a massage room in there, and you can go in and peek at that. There's a shower. So it's kind of a nice bonus for people that work hard all day, because when you come for harvest, we try to plan those dates around the actual harvest, but if plants aren't ready, we can't force that. So you may be out just weeding with the hose, like you saw at the lavender field. You may be planting plants, transplanting plants in the greenhouse. There's a lot of different things, but it's a long day, and it can be long, hard days. So that's why we try to treat everybody with the spot tubs. Let's see, so after we have the oil collected in this bucket, just to tell you, Melissa, this is a 9,600 liter pot. We'll get less than a quart of oil from that pot. Wow. So that explains the pricing for Melissa. And it's only one harvest a year. We harvest in July. Within 10 days of the 4th of July, Gary said since the day he started with the Melissa, it's always going to be, no matter what the weather, the winter, the spring, the heat, it's consistent. So one harvest a year, and we harvested about 55 acres, I believe, this year, and we distilled 21 kilos of oil, which isn't very much when you think of the numbers of people that want Melissa. That's where the demand is not, we're never going to meet the demand, unfortunately. But we have other farms trying to figure out how to grow it. This is the perfect condition, and that is because the cool nights here, and also we get rain about once a week, which it likes. So if we don't get that rain, we need to do the irrigation. And one thing I didn't get to mention upstairs is we did start a new fertilizer program this year, well, 2 years ago. And that's been incredibly beneficial to the plants, to have that, giving them what they need. Because before it was just kind of a guessing game. So now we really are working closely with an agronomist and learning the soil health and what we're missing. For each cook, we keep incredibly strict notes. We talk about which field the plant was cut from, what the weather was like, what the bricks was when we cut it and when we loaded it. if it was a completely full pot, and then we write all of our temperatures and times down and keep track of all that. Each batch that we cook, we send about 6 drops to the lab, and they will test it with the gastropanometer, and that's the machine that they put the drops in, and it spews out all the compounds that are in that particular oil. And that's the compounds that Gary's looking at. I watched him study those, and they're scientific names, I can't even name one, but that we're looking for specific purposes, you know, what the properties are. And so when they look at that, and they might see sample number 1-15 is extraordinary. Why, you know, what did you guys do with this? So it's not just the quantity, but the quality. So we can tell them, well, it was this field, and this is the fertilizer program we did, and this was the bricks, and this was the weather. That's what we need to try to duplicate with everything. So we're always trying to make not just more oil, but a better quality. And that's the thing with Young Living, is that quality control that I think, you know, for those of us that work here, it can be very tedious, and it's like, here we go, you know, and it's a push. Harvest this year was 13 days, and they're all 12 to 14-hour days, but it's such rewarding work that you just keep going and going and going.
Thank you for everything you do.
Oh, you're welcome. We love it. We do love it. And you're why we do it. So thank you for coming.
Thank you.
So we take this oil in the stainless pot, and we take it back to the decanting room, which I'll explain that, and then I'll have you all circle through because it's kind of a small area. Yes, thank you for displaying that. That's the decanting room. So you'll go through those doors, watch your step. There's steps up, and then you'll come out this door and come out that where that gentleman's standing right there waving his phone. And come down here, and then you're welcome to see, there's a video on the back table of the actual Melissa harvest in process. The refractometer is there, as well as the seed plant that Gary designed. That actually, we put the plant material in that, and it squeezes out the juice of the plant to be able to read the bricks. So that's kind of one of the things he designed specifically for.
And where's that? What does
Yes.
BRIC stand for?
It's actually the last name of the man that invented in theory.
It's the measurement of...
It's the measurement of the sugar level. It's basically the water versus carbohydrate. And so you're looking at that. I learned something new this year, actually. I'll share with you. Tomato farmers will raise their water up as much as possible right before harvest because it creates more fruit. The bricks goes way down, and the tomatoes get bigger because there's more water in the tomato. It creates more juice. Grape farmers and juice farmers want to cut off their water a week before harvest because they want the sugar levels to be more concentrated. So the bricks is going to go way up. That level's going to go up because then they'll get more juice and sweeter product and be able to dilute it more probably. So it's an interesting theory. It kind of makes sense to me that way. So we're basically wanting to stress the plants, but not too much, to create oil.
And it depends on which plant, right?
Exactly. They're all different. And obviously the wood plant, the wood, balsam fir and spruce they don't do bricks. But yeah, so that's, so we'll go to the decanting room. We take this bucket of oil and we pour it through the decanter, and that separates out water first if we have water in there. It also filters out any cellulose debris or dirt, anything like that that's gotten into the plant. We used to use a stainless steel mesh. That was a very expensive, fancy filter, and then the lab told Gary, just go back to coffee filters, which is what we use, unbleached coffee filters, and they filter every little bit of everything out. And we weigh each batch, that's another thing, so we know exactly how much oil we get from each cook. And we make notes on the color, because sometimes different fields create a little bit different color. Like this is really dark because it's been in the cooker, but I think once we filter that out, it will get lighter. Melissa typically is pretty light. What is in the decanter right now is not Melissa, I don't want to fool you, it's balsam fir. Because it was, we didn't want to have Melissa in there in case something happened. There's a little bit of balsam fir in there. So you can see what that looks like, which is actually every bit as valuable, I think, right now, because we're looking at it. So the samples go to Utah, and then after we've weighed every batch and filtered it, it goes back in one of these containers. The Melissa, generally Gary would fly back to Utah in his plane, because we can't just ship it UPS, you know what I mean? The dollar value of that, I don't even want to imagine. So it goes either by truck or by plane to Mona, and that's where they do, I think it's 11 or 12 different tests on the oil to make sure it's pure and of good quality, and then they bottle and distribute there. So are there any other questions on the distillery? Yes, in between cooks. So between Melissa and Lavender, we clean the pots with the steam, and then we take these outside and steam clean everything. Yeah. We don't want any cross contamination.
lavender floral water from? Are you getting to the Spanish ones, the plants? But over here, do you know?
No, we don't, because of the regulations here, we can't sell the floral water. Yes, it's a regulation. The compliance thing, yes.
Just curious, you keep talking about how gentle you need to be with Melissa, yet stomping it in the cooker. Is there?
I think that makes it best to try to break it up a little bit, so it releases that oil.
To give it
I
that?
think it's more about the heat for the Melissa, is need to be, not to ramp it up too much and burn it. But stumping it, I think, just breaks it up and gets it kind of going, to release that oil, to break up the plant material and the fibers. Because if you didn't stomp it, I don't think the steam would go right through it. I know it's kind of a
Plant matter.
dual-edged sword, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes,
What was the number of, how much Melissa was harvested in the last?
55 acres this year, and we had 21 kilos produced, which is the most this farm's produced. So we were like, yay!
Nice job.
21 kilos, so that was a banner year. We were very happy with that. Next year we hope to have maybe up to 30, so
Do we know what that translates into bottles?
I can tell you. Let me do my math and I'll get back to you.
Okay.
I want to say there's 750 bottles in a kilo.
Oh, so that was good.
Yeah, it was really
Yeah.
good. No, we were super happy. And it was really good, clear, bright yellow.
Awesome.
The Melissa, when it's been filtered and you take that mason jar outside, it literally sparkles. I mean, it is amazing. I wish I had some to show you, but we can't do that. So it is like sparkly light. It's amazing stuff to see. And then lavender, just to compare, lavender literally filled that glass with oil, one cooker. I mean, it's just abundant to go there. And that's why we feel like this farm started as a lavender farm, but the Melissa it does so well here, and it's just, we need to make sense for what we're doing. But the lavender does better in the warmer climates like the desert, like Mona. So we need to do what Mother Nature tells us. If there aren't any other questions, what we need to do is sort of start filing that way. You're welcome to take pictures in there and then file back out if you want to take a look.